Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, the Ojo agreement, just the tip of the iceberg for potential big bucks for high school prospects. And Chris Level has to be told to simmer down. He's getting worked up in the middle of July.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And today's conversation will be rooted in a recruiting frame of mind. I want to get to something that I thought was really interesting from Big 12 Media Days as far as a comment made by a Big 12 head coach when it comes to the future of recruiting and prioritizing exactly where efforts are placed, whether recruiting or retention. We'll also expand that a little bit to discuss priorities as it relates to Texas Tech and transfer portal or say high school and prep level prospect recruiting efforts. We've had a big splash, obviously, most recently when we're talking about a high school level commitment, but the portal party, the original off-season good time fun maker, just a few weeks back, as it was all about the transfer. So we'll get to all of the above. And of course, the theme will be straight cash homie for all of the previously mentioned. But Chris, let me bring you this comment. I know you've seen it, you heard it, but I want to bring it to the audience in case they haven't. This is from Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham. And I'm curious to hear maybe how you see this similarly or possibly different. This was regarding, I guess, his priority within his program and sort of how he would describe this recruiting process. He says straight out, quote, "To me, recruiting is dead. Retention is alive." He goes on to say, "It's not about recruiting. I don't care if we're ranked dead last in recruiting my entire career here. Who knows? It'd be like if the draft was for 1 year, then all of your draft picks leave. So it's all about retention now. That's my entire thing," says Kenny Dillingham. Recruiting, retention, one or the other, all of the above. What do you make of it?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of mileage out of things that coaches said Big 12 Media Days, aren't we?
It's an entertaining cast of characters, no doubt.
That's right. It's a content farm, as they say. Yeah, and Coach Dillingham is a quite the character, and I think he's so widely respected for how young he is and all that. And we've kind of mentioned that he and Joey have kind of become pretty close and all those things. I think I know what he means. I don't think I can take this at face value because you can't have one without the other. So let me explain. I think what he is talking about is from a culture standpoint, and keep in mind, Arizona State hit the portal really hard the year before. I mean, you know, Jordan Tyson, their two best players, these two draft picks, Sam Levitt and Tyson, these were transfer guys. These were portal guys. And they had quite a few portal guys, 2 years ago. And their first year was last year, if you will. It just wasn't as high profile as what Texas Tech has done and some others have done. And I don't think anybody thought at the time that Tyson or Levitt were going to end up like they are. But anyway, they worked out well. But what I think he's referencing is, I think he's putting like the culture piece at the top and basically saying you need to get the right group and then keep them together for a bit. That's what our focus is. That's the way we are choosing to do this. They even hit the portal again with the Army running back to replace Scadaboo, or in the rotation to replace Scadaboo. So it's not like they're anti-portal; they're very much for it. But I think that they're focused on trying to, because I mean, remember Coach Dillingham he sat up there in the post game a few times last year, and he's like, "Hey man, that's great. You're giving me all this praise, but we need these guys to my right and to my left here taken care of. Like if you're out there, pony up. Like I'd like to be able to keep them, and they figured out a way to be able to do that, and they won enough games where there was some. But like my thing is like I know what he means. However, if you're not recruiting well, then you don't want to retain them.
Very good, Chris. That's that Texas Tech learning, shining through.
You got to get quality.
Yeah, I was a little confused by the ASU logic that was on display here.
Yeah,
don't retain it if you ain't recruiting well.
You can't have one without the other.
Right.
Wax on, wax off, right? So you've got to get whether high school or portal or whatever, and then I think the focus is on not losing them and not having an issue there. So I think that. Again, but I think he's putting a premium on the culture piece. And I get it. And I think that most coaches do. So you want to be able to have some time with a core group and all that. And to the point where I just don't think enough people have talked about Texas Tech's returning players enough. Your Sheridan Wilsons, your Coy Akins, your Jacob Rodriguez's, your Baron Mortons. I mean, there's a strong nucleus of guys that have played that are still going to be a part of this deal, and then so much of your younger group you are retaining, and they're going through the process that Dillingham says that he puts a premium on.
Jacoby Williams, Brendan Jordan, Mo Horn.
Yep. Keep going. I mean, it's just, that entire, all those defensive linemen that we were so high on, all of them are still here. And those are guys that haven't played a ton. And I go back and look at, okay, so let's play this out. Because I have a list of, this will shock you. I think we're at about, we're at about 20, 25 guys that could have returned here that did depart. Your Jake Strongs, Jalen Peoples, Brady Boyd, DJ Kress, Caden Carr, Ty Buchanan, Cam Brown, Dalton Merriman, Trayvon McAlpine. I mean, it's a long, Cameron Valdez, Joseph Adedire. I can go all the way to Harvey Dyson. All there's a lengthy list of names. I would offer up the argument that there's only 3 players that there's a few that maybe I would have loved for like Jordan Brown to be back here and would have solved a returner or a slot issue. Other people may not feel that way. I thought he had something to him. He goes to Nevada. But there was only 3 players that I really think at the end of the day that not that they were upset, but that they would have preferred to really keep. And they're all linemen. Nick Fattig being on the offensive line, I think that he was kind of in the mix as a first and second string guy. And then I think Joseph Adedire and Isaac Smith were 2 that I think would have been depth pieces. I can't say that they would have started or even played much, but they would have. But and again, you're kind of asking for your cake and eat it too at this point, because you're asking for your some of your guys to stay here. Hey man, just stay in here and help give us some insurance. Maybe your time will come in a year from now. Anyway, they wanted to go seek employment elsewhere.
Just one thought about the offensive line aspect of that, maybe some D-line, but particularly the O-line, man. I feel like that's maybe a position group where those type of guys get squeezed the most, because it's the one you have to be the most patient with probably, which is almost impossible to do when you can think about transfer ads or things like that could really change your fortunes there quickly. So I wonder if that's something maybe just specific to that position that some programs are having a challenge, kind of dealing with, because that one takes time. Whereas maybe a younger guy from a skill position standpoint, I don't know, defensive back, whatever it might be, elsewhere can contribute more immediately. But typically there's time required, I guess, with the offensive line.
Yeah, and it's this is tricky, and like I've even like we'll just kind of bounce around here with the offensive line conversation, because typically typically when you sign a group, you don't want them to see the field for 2 to 3 years, right? I mean, and there's some examples to the contrary. Manny Ramirez, Louis Vasquez, Ladrian Waddle, LaRaven Clark. Rex Richards back in the day. That's about the only guys I can come up with that really played as true freshmen. It's worth asking aloud if like Felix Ojo will play as a true freshman, and if he'll skip, if he's good enough. I don't think you want to put guys out there before they're ready. It's not good for them. It's not good for your team, and sometimes. But and speaking of, Felix Ojo tweeted out yesterday, I see everything the doubters, haters, critics, supporters are all saying. Best believe I'm keeping tabs. I'm coming for everything this season. Just sit back and watch. And he's talking about his high school season. But based on, we'll get to that part of the conversation a little bit. But do you lean more into a very talented younger player on the offensive line because the rules have changed a bit? Good question, but it is hard for some of those offensive linemen to wait and be patient. That's the best thing for them. But if they're going to transfer somewhere and they're going to leave you, it's honestly going to group of 5 and playing and then trying to transfer back into a Power 4 team is maybe the best thing that maximizes if you're going to transfer somewhere, you better be sure you're getting to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if among, the most competitive Power 4 or Autonomous 4 conferences and their most competitive programs, I wonder if maybe we see positions over time sort of break down as far as what they're made up of. First, today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Imagine watching your favorite team at the college basketball tournament live, feeling the energy of the crowd, witnessing unforgettable moments. We all know there's nothing like experiencing a big game in person, and getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. With Game Time Picks, curation makes it even easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the one and only lowest price guarantee, which means you get the lowest price or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Plus, peace of mind. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Programs. I wonder if maybe we see positions over time sort of break down as far as what they're made up of by where I guess you can get these players most readily from that are ready to make an impact. Like what if offensive lines are built more around some older guys or some transfers and things like that versus some other spots where maybe it is a little friendlier to a younger player, a high school player, or a prep level prospect that's coming straight from those kinds of ranks. And there's so many unknowns at this time. Who knows if those circumstances are still even in place to lead to that? Because I think if you do see some of, obviously, the consequences returning as far as transfers and ease of movement is concerned, then a lot of this will be disrupted that I'm even describing. But Chris, I would want to follow a program that was doing their best to provide immediate impact every cycle in the trenches when you have the opportunity. And yeah, maybe you really like a young guy or believe in a guy's developmental progress, but if he ain't there yet, there's a good chance you can roll the dice and go find somebody possibly that is and bring them on board as long as these circumstances remain in place. So I'm glad Texas Tech has been that kind of program. I hate that there is a squeeze for some, but that again just kind of resembles the real world, I guess.
Yeah, there needs to be a happy medium there. I think you need to try to retain as many of your pieces and try to let them see the light at the end of the tunnel as much as you can. But you're not going to be able to hold on to all of them. And I just think the more times you roll the dice, the odds favor the house. You're gonna crap out. You're not going to hit on all of them. 7 come 11 high and low. Look out, baby! It's the come out roll, right? I mean, that's you're going to see those snake eyes. You're going to hit a 7 one time if you keep tempting fate and keep going to the well, and you're just going to get a guy that is not tough, or he's not all in, or he's not any good. I don't know, whatever it may be. But yeah, this is, and it's pretty clear the I will sentiment is so much of this is focused on the offensive line. You brought in 4 transfers, with Cash Cleveland and then Jadis Zambrano and then Sampson, and you lost a few, but then we see kind of how the rev share is maybe being allocated toward a few select pieces, one of which is what thought to be a future left tackle. And I mean, I think Howard Sampson, we've talked about him a lot. He could end up being maybe one of the most important pieces that you added. And I think that even more so because I think you may get more than 1 year out of him. I don't think this is a scenario where he's just here for 1 year and then off he goes. I don't think. But that's why it also makes it important. But you've got that spot, you feel like locked down. He's the one offensive lineman spot too. I think Sheridan Wilson was close, but he's the one offensive lineman. They talked about all these other positions. Yeah, we're still looking at these guards and right tackle, but you never heard left tackle. No, we Sharpie.
And if you had to pick one to be that way, that's the one I'm going for first.
Which is why I think he was extremely well compensated.
Yeah, dream come true. And I mean, that's, even though we're trying to eradicate violence from football as a society, can't wait for the flags era, they're still allowing some physicality in 2025. And so that means that still for 200 consecutive year running or whatever it might be, those in the trenches who are the most physical will most likely win football games. And that's, as we've said time and time again, what's so exciting about these additions. You could have fun adding players all over the map beyond the offensive line and defensive line, and I would still meet it with a skeptical eye. And I'm still waiting to see to believe for sure, but that's just my Red Raider trauma. But Chris, whenever you're doing the work that you've done with an offensive line or defensive line, that's where you most often find that pudding that holds that proof. And I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it. And so I'm glad that one of your lead rowers as far as this boat getting down the river, Cody Campbell, is in fact an offensive lineman. That is not lost on me. I think that's just that's a divine coincidence that the guy that's really stirring things up so much does come from that background. So that's good.
And that's why essentially with what you've done with Howard Sampson and theoretically Felix Ojo, I think you feel like you have attempted to lock up that position for the next 4 to 5 years in theory. Like we are not throwing these assets around at a lot of this stuff, but the blind side, we would like for that to be locked down and a plan in place, to where we can kind of really go all in there and secure like some stability at that spot. Because speaking of, you mentioned pudding. You like what flavor? You tapioca guy?
I don't even know what that is. Sounds European, so I bristle at the notion. But I am a banana pudding guy. But I don't mean just the banana pudding. I want the cream. I want the vanilla wafers. I mean the whole concoction.
Yes, banana pudding.
What is tapioca? Is that American made?
It's, you know what it is. It's got the rice in it. I used to hate it. Like the consistency thing was weird. It's like, what is this stuff in the
rice in it?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I promise you, I was not spreading tapioca around in Littlefield, Texas as a boy.
Okay. Yeah.
Known as the pro of the plains for other reasons.
And some chocolate pudding with some whipped topping on there is that's solid work too, man.
Fair enough.
Solid work too.
Hey, I was going to ask if I could make a guess at the number 2 priority, because I think we're just outlining right there, left tackle. You can make a strong case. This is roster priority number 1. If I can make a stab at guessing at number 2, is it one of the guys that could possibly be lining up across from that dude in practices? I mean, we've been doing some serious work on the edges defensively as well. So it kind of seems like, I don't know, maybe those are some of the top 2 priorities that they've got.
I mean, I just we said this in the last week or so, but I just think about the NFL model, and what I mean by that is like what positions get paid at that level. And I think, yes, QB is certainly tops, and it should be. I think the QB at the NFL is a different deal than it is in college. But after that, it's the blind side, and then it's who can wreak havoc on the blind side. You are asked in those positions, whether you're an edge or the left tackle, to win one-on-one matchups. Usually it's some of the most highest paid players on each team that are playing those two positions. And if you have somebody that can consistently win those one-on-one matchups on your team, you are mitigating risk, or you're wreaking havoc, whatever. And that's one less thing I got to worry about. And people have chosen to. That's why I like, in a secondary conversation, it's receiver or corner. If you have somebody that can stop or guard a top wideout, or if you have somebody like Jamar Chase, for example, or Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, that just constantly, we know where the ball's going, can't get it stopped. Those guys are worth a lot of cash toward your cap. And so, but yeah, I think you've nailed it. I think that's exactly right. I think an elite edge is where I would say, even for Texas Tech, like from a rev share standpoint, it may even be on par from a dollar figure standpoint. I think everything else is less than, but I think those two are like 1 and 1A.
I'm biased towards believing that at the end of it, if you can only choose one, defense is what will win your championship still in 2025. But it's the trenches on either side that really are making it all work. So it is, and it's the only way to describe it. You can talk about the QB being the most important, but what we're really talking about as far as these two spots is the man that can kill the other guy's QB and the man that's going to protect that QB. I mean, that's kind of what it's boiling down to there in that instance. And I feel very, very good that we haven't seen it. I feel very good about what Texas Tech's obviously got in place in those spots, and easily, Chris, feeling as good about that as we have in many, many years. Some might even say decades. I don't know if I want to dial it that far back, but nonetheless, some of you might. Before we get out of here, I do want to continue with this theme in a way, and I want to get back actually to a question that we had a couple of Matador mobsters texting about since the Ojo signing and over the last few days. I was texting back and forth with Royce about this. I know that Brett, Adam, and John all asked about this also. The high school spending efforts. We've seen so much of that in the portal, and then we had a big splash financially, even though some of that reported errantly as far as the monetary detail is concerned. But that was a big splash from a high school perspective. So the gist of a lot of their questions were, is this the first time Texas Tech has made that kind of swing towards a high school prospect as far as the dollar figure? Have there been others that just didn't work out, so we haven't really heard about them? Or do you feel like this was kind of the entry into that demographic, being on the receiving end of this kind of money or this kind of attention?
This is the first cycle that they have tried to put something together at this kind of level. Yes. I don't think at this point they've really been told no yet. I think that there's, there's some more offers out there for the 2026 class that are similar, very few. And then there's some that are out there for the 27 class. These are not hard to figure out who they are based on the conversations that you and I have just had. But I don't think last cycle, they really wanted to do too much there with like the true freshman, the high school prospect, as far as promising rev share. This was a year out. You're not real sure about house case. You kind of have a feel. You're trying to prepare for it. I think they were more keen on using some of those funds toward the portal and current roster and all the different things. And again, that's why I mentioned on yesterday's show, there were some schools that were willing to play big dollar ball last year in the recruiting cycle, and they got the kids and you didn't. And then those same people are complaining about, like, well, you're messing up our locker room and then the whole standard of the sport, because what are we supposed to do? I just I have a hard time with that, because it's like there's so many of these coaches that have skeletons in their closet, like a bone comes flying out of their mouth when they start accusing of other people of whatever. And I have a hard time with that. That's just not, it's, I mean, anyway, and your two, I will say
simmer,
this,
big cat, simmer.
your two private school institutions that are in your league were paying big dollars for, so they should be the last thing that, I mean, Texas Tech's not walking around with T-shirts at practice that say we pay players. Right? I mean, right? I mean, and they beat you. I mean, I think Caleb Burns was one. They beat you straight up on a guy last year because they paid a lot more than you were willing to offer. And that's just, again, there are no sour grapes here, but just don't be claiming high and mighty and acting like, what? We are a religious institution. How dare you besmirch our reputation of, I mean, come on, man. So anyways,
into place for the high and mighty, I don't think.
Jesus. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, you're right. Calm down, Chris. Yes, sir. Okay. Note to self.
This should be the cool down period of the program. We got to wrap her up. I don't want to get
yeah, that's right. Anyways,
and then you take it out on the office after we're done recording. It can become a whole thing. So
now, Colin, the real question is, and I don't know the answer to this, but like, what's the standard? What's the, I'm going to say, like, everyday high school player that you're recruiting, that everybody's recruiting, that maybe doesn't play a premium position. What are you doing there? What are they being offered? Is it across the board? Is it position specific? Is it, I'm not real sure what Tech and everybody else is doing necessarily. But I think there has to be some component of this to where you are allocating, I don't want to say like the majority, but a lot of your funds and your rev share toward the players that have played and have earned it and that you're going to count on, instead of the promise of what. Now, keep in mind, Texas Tech has extra rev share they can allocate for like over the next year. And they may keep kicking that can down the road because they front loaded so much. So Felix Ojo may not even account in year one. He may not even really factor in much of what it may not affect the rest of the team. But so anyways, it's kind of, accounting gymnastics, but yeah, but it's a good question. Are you offering the general kid $50,000, $25,000? What 37.50? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, because I think that it's got to be prospect specific in some cases, or position specific in some cases, and it's all a negotiation. And when you're getting down to the wire, and it's like, man, coach, I really need this much. This is what so and so is doing. Is that real, or is that just negotiating? So that game is, it's kind of like the trying to buy a car. Man, I got to have my payment down to this, or I'm walking. And then you may leave, and then your phone may ring, or like, hey, no, okay, well, sit down, just hold on. I mean, that's just so. There's all of these things going on. So, and I already heard stories on the basketball front, by the way, about these negotiations. I've already heard stories about. People meeting in casinos in Vegas already exchanging money, like, because it's easy to do that in that neck of the woods. It's just
totally
like
normal thing to do, of course.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll calm down. And Calvin, I appreciate your take on banana pudding. That's I want to retweet your commentary about the banana pudding take. I rank your take 5 stars. That's what I rank your take on banana pudding.
That pudding cannot stand alone. It needs the help of the wafer.
Yes,
and no doubt. Cream or a Cool Whip. That's just me, but I'm dying on that hill. All right, Chris, appreciate your time, your fervor and enthusiasm as well for all things discussed, and more enthusiasm to offer this week. There's no question about that. So looking forward to the next one, man. We'll see you then.
All right, you got it, man. We'll talk to you next time. And in the meantime, I'll try to chill out.
Everybody get subscribed on YouTube. We got plenty to get worked up on as the year rolls by. So we got to pace ourselves. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers for always being out there in the Matador Mob. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texting straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey, and thanks as always for joining us. Hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.